for those people that actually want to start podcasts, start it now. Don't wait, because waiting just prolongs whatever you're supposed to be doing.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Brett Deister. Previously, episode 1199 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 4 months, 5 days, 9 hours, and 15 minutes since we last recorded that conversation. That was then, this is now. Brett, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. It's morning for you. It's still late night, but kind of technically morning for me over here in California.
Yeah, I had one friend, he's a Rastaman, and he was telling me there's no way the day can start from 12. He said, I would never win, so my day starts from 6 the day before in the PM. It's like, that's an interesting way to look at it, all right?
All right, well, whatever helps him out.
Exactly, yeah. So what's up? I mean, the last time we spoke, Digital Coffee Podcast was rocking. Of course, you had that amazing picture there that had to make anybody stop and smile. How's things evolved for you today?
Well, Digital Coffee is still going. I actually switched it up a little bit, so now it's just specifically PC gaming. So I dropped the other stuff I was doing and did PC gaming, but now I'm also a podcast producer, so I host and produce a PR tech podcast for a PR agency called PR360 that just launched in 2020. And then I'm actually doing another one for Bleav Podcast Network that's about consumer tech. So even though Digital Coffee kind of narrowed everything, I'm still doing what I was originally doing with Digital Coffee.
Oh, that's amazing. That's cool.
It's a little weird journey.
Well, yeah. Again, you never know where you're going, but you hope to be where you want it to be. It's interesting how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, the podcast created an opportunity for you to edit other podcasts, and there are two advantages that I can pull to immediately. Of course, one is you get to learn from prepping, right? The second thing is, and I'll ask you this, how are things going with editing something that's like PR?
Well, it's always an interesting challenge. When I prep people, I usually tell them to, just enjoy it. And this is not one of those gotcha podcasts. I'm not going to spring anything on you. Even though I write questions for you, there is no way I'm going to write every single question that may come up. So there will be extra questions if I think it's interesting. And then the last part is, please do your best to eliminate the 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 you-knows, because if I go through all the podcasts and I have to get rid of all those, it takes a while. It could take from anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours to do a podcast editing really good.
The and the ahs. So yeah, my editor, she's Angel. Come on, stop it. No more likes. Understanding that simple technical scenario where you're editing ahs and ahs. Have you seen that principle be applicable to life, where editing who you are is as important from a philosophical perspective?
Well, I think we're always tailoring or shifting ourselves or correcting things that we've done before in the past. I don't think anybody's going to be like, well, I'm done. I don't got to edit anything. So yeah, I think it does correlate to it. But the funny part is it correlates to how people don't understand how many times they actually say us, you-knows. Like I think I was watching a YouTube video and the guy said it like 3 times in one sentence. I was like, are you serious? Like, I don't want you to say that anymore. Please stop.
It's interesting because the mindset of an individual is one where they are actually expressing audibly what they're thinking. And most of the time, the thoughts that we're thinking, and I'm guilty of this, right, sometimes, but it's usually in between the talk you're thinking. Some other people, they think first and then they talk, yeah?
Well, also, it's just trying to get people to agree with you. So when you say, you're trying to like gain the advantage of like, you know what I'm saying, right? And a lot of times people just nod, but it's kind of like, I'm watching your YouTube video because I don't know what you're going to be saying. or I'm doing something because I don't know what you're going to be saying. But we do it for, like, the ums and uhs are a crutch. The you-knows are a crutch as well, because we can say it several times. And even editing through my podcasts, I've gotten better at it, but I still slip in some of them here and there. But you have to listen to yourself and be like, ooh, that's a lot of those things, and you really need to cut down. And a lot of people don't understand is that you just need to, like, stop your sentence and then go on, because the uhs are, you're going through a sentence and you go, and then you go on.
You're listening to the recorded voice. There seems to be a voice that is internal with each individual, amongst many other voices in society. Those voices, for example, like main media, right? Or even PR firms, right? That put out there. How are you able to discern your inner voice in the midst of everything, Brett?
Well, I think it's always listening to people, but not always agreeing with people at the same time, because I think we always try to just agree with people so we don't get into an argument, or just agree with people because we want to be a part of a group. So for me, it's okay just to not agree, but go, I respect what you say, but I don't really agree with that, and still be yourself. I think we kind of get lost in wanting to be liked more than wanting to understand who we are.
Iron sharpening iron. You believe in that, do you?
I do, yeah.
The concept of death is one that we've brought onto the podcast, where some people plan their days understanding mortality, that I could die today or tomorrow. Some put it on the back shelf of their minds, never wanting to interact with it. Where do you put that concept, the possibility of you being able to die today or tomorrow?
Well, it's kind of ironic that you're talking about that, because of a well-known person dying, Sunday? Kobe Bryant died on Sunday. So it's kind of an interesting thing, and just more or less seeing everybody react to it. I mean, I felt sad, but there's people that are, like, still crying over it. And I was like, whoa, that happened. And I was kind of like moving on, because my interpretation of heroes or idols or whatever is to respect them, but they're also humans. So don't encompass your whole life with them. But also for me, for death, is just making sure that I do my best to treat everybody as best I can, making sure that I teach people what I can, either mostly through tech and gaming, but mostly through that as well. I guess the other thing is just to make sure I've done what I could do for the time that I have, because I mean, we can always go back and be like, well, I should have done this, I should have done that, but that's more of a hindsight thing. And you only have a certain amount of hours in a day, and you do your best with what you have, what energy you have, what strength you have, and what productivity you have, or even relationally, how much time you spend with people that matter to you.
I am glad, my friend, that you are walking the talk, because you could have said everything that you've learned, you keep it on your own podcast. Instead, you've gotten out there and you've supported others. And it felt as though from our first conversation, that was something that was core to you, helping others. You were reading a ton. Are you reading as much as you were reading back then?
Yes, to a point, yeah, I'm still reading. I don't know if it's as much as I am, just because doing 3 different podcasts does kind of limit it, and plus trying to get into video at the same time limits a whole bunch of other things to actually do. But I do try to read. My reading habits have changed probably a little bit. I'm actually reading quite more marketing books than I used to, but I still try to read the fantasy and everything else just to help my mind still be creative, because reading just marketing strategies and tactics and subscription models are interesting, but they can kind of get a little boring.
In the midst of it, you're sharing to others. And I believe that we're in a time where podcasting is popular, the format, the platform. However, there's a core part of what goes with podcasting, which is sharing. And I believe it's a service to humanity. So I want to say thank you for that. It's a grand opportunity to call in, check in with Brett, say, Brett, where are you? What are you doing? Are you still doing what you said you would be doing? And to know that you've not given up on what has lit your fire, the thing that you found passion in doing. Saying that, again, thank you. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share in closing?
Yeah, I mean, for those people that actually want to start podcasts, just understand that you may have an idea, but there's a lot of other steps to go through as well. There's a ton of research to do to make sure that you are kind of maybe you're the only one, or if you're different from everybody else. Also, there's about, last time I checked, which was 2 months ago, 800,000 podcasts on Apple Podcasts. So understand that it's pretty big and you're not alone. And you can still find the space for your own voice, for doing what you love type of a thing. So this is for any creative projects. Just try to be creative in your own little way. Even though you may say that you're not creative, you actually are probably creative in certain types of way. You may not be the artist or the video editing person, but you still are creative in some type of way. So don't stop it because you don't think you are, or don't stop it because you're waiting for work to pick up, because I didn't get work because I was waiting for them to find me. I found it out and I was doing my podcast prior to it and making all the mistakes prior to it so I could become the expert. So yeah, start it now. Don't wait, because waiting just prolongs whatever you're supposed to be doing.
Don't wait, folks. Don't procrastinate. Get going. Love that. Brett, again, a great pleasure, my friend. A pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.